Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 307 RPG podcast. My name is Patrick.
I'm Nolan.
Zach.
Gentlemen, we are joined today by a couple of individuals from Free League. As everybody knows, we have been raving about Free League and the games that they put out, especially Zach, especially when it comes to the Ruins of Symbaroum. So we reached out to Free League, and boy, did they respond. Because joining us today are Mattias and Jacob to talk to us all about Symbaroum. So we're going to throw it over to you first. Mattias, introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do when it comes to the game of Symbaroum.
Hi, my name is Mattias Johnsson, Haake, and I live and breathe in Sweden together with my fellow comrades in Free League. I am one of the co-owners and one of the brand managers. I primarily work today on Symbaroum, which I also co-created with two of my very good friends. Is it like starting to be 6 or 7 years ago now, since the original Symbaroum game hit the market. So, but my days are, I work full time making games, primarily role-playing games. So I can't complain about the job situation, at least.
That doesn't sound like it's too difficult of a thing to not enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a job, so sometimes.
That's fair. That's fair. And Jacob, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jacob Rodgers, and I was brought in to help out with Ruins of Symbaroum, the 5e conversion of Symbaroum, allowing us to introduce the setting to a brand new set of players.
I see behind you on the whiteboard a bunch of math stuff. Are you a math teacher in your daytime job?
Just to the kid.
Oh, okay,
No,
fair
I'm
enough.
not a teacher, but kid's been having a little bit of trouble in math, so we've been working.
Excellent, excellent. Well,
That's
like I
pretty
said,
cool.
we are here to talk about Symbaroum because I know the three of us have completely fallen in love with the setting. We haven't even played the game yet. We saw the when we saw the Kickstarter, we were all very intrigued by it, and then we watched the video. We did a little bit more reading about Symbaroum, grabbed the free setting guide on Drive Through RPG, and just kind of checked it out, and were blown away. I know Zach immediately went back and backed the project, and so we'd also been experienced or had experience of Free League stuff through the One Ring, which I'm a backer of. And of course Vesson, which is another game that just completely blew us away. So we are definitely fans of Free League here at 307 RPG with Symbaroum kind of leading the way. So we've talked about it, we've raved about it, we've raved about the art, we've raved about the layout of the book. Mattias, I want to go to you first and talk to you about Symbaroum as a setting and how it came to be and just how this brainchild of yours has become this game.
Wow. I will not hint to that I haven't been met by this question before, because I have, like, often, but every time it's posed, I get bewildered and confused and don't know where to start. So what it is we started making role-playing games, me and some of my friends, for publication around the turn of the millennia. And we did them in Swedish only first. We did a version of, I don't know if you have seen the Mutant Year Zero, which is a Free League game today. Me and my friends, we did you can say a prequel to Mutant Year Zero, like the version of the Mutant game that came before Year Zero. And we also created from scratch a little game called Coriolis that later became a Free League game. We sold the IP to Free League, and today's Free League is actually two smaller companies that have merged and kept the name Free League. But the three of us who made Symbaroum, we had actually put like role-playing games creation on the shelf to be able to invest in education and career. And yeah, we also, at that time had families with small children and such. So we decided that we can't, we don't have time for this kind of time consuming hobby. But it took like 2 years, and we were on a role-playing trip to Istanbul, me and my friends, and sat in the shade of the Blue Mosque sipping tea, and decided that we cannot live not creating role-playing games. So, and that was like established in a heartbeat. So the next question became, so what do we do next? And we have always been fans of fantasy. We have mostly played fantasy role-playing games growing up. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Warhammer, some Ars Magica, a lot of Swedish fantasy role-playing games as well, of course. So we decided to like take a stab at the. It's crazy. It's a crazy project trying to make a fantasy role-playing game that has, you know, the potential to stand out in the multitude of great games and great settings that are already out there. But we are either cocky or stupid, because we said we need to do this, and if we do it, we don't have time for a hobby, so let's try to make it real. Go for an English translation and whatnot. You know, Sweden, we have like 10 million people speaking Swedish or reading Swedish, so there's not much of a market to make a living out of. But yeah, we're going to translate it. And what we essentially did with the Symbaroum brand is that we crafted the setting that we ourselves would love to play in, read about, and also to, because one of us three is Martin Grip, the illustrator of many Free League games, Symbaroum, Coriolis, Alien, and whatnot. So we started out basically with a brainchild that was born out of a campaign that we had played when we were younger. And then out of that campaign and that backstory, this setting sort of grew into place and became what it is today. So yeah, that was a super long answer that didn't even remotely keep to the question, but yeah.
That's okay. You said that you want to create games that you loved to read about, or settings that you enjoyed playing in. Symbaroum appears on the surface, at least from what we've looked at it, to be a very dark setting. And correct me if I'm wrong here. And it seems
Mm,
like, I mean, we've looked at some of the artwork and seen some of the monsters, and all of us go, nope, don't want to fight that. Just based on the picture, don't want to deal with that at all. What
mm.
is it about this darker setting that attracts you to it?
First, I would like to argue that it is far from as dark as our own world. So, yes, it is darker compared to, you know, your standard type of heroic fantasy role-playing game. It is maybe even a little bit darker in a sense than the Warhammer Fantasy setting, but there there is light in there, and I think that's the reason why you see all the darkness. Because sometimes you create settings that are so dark that it all becomes gray. In this case, you have the perspectives, you have the nuances, you have the contrasts that make the dark really and quite literally come alive. So it is not that kind of game where you venture out as heroes knowing that you are, by definition, the good guys. And there are some evil folks or creatures out there that you will probably be recognized for slaying or, I don't know, stealing the treasure or whatnot. It's very much a game of morals and perspectives, in the sense that yes, there is good and bad in the world of Symbaroum, but who you define as good or bad is very much a question of what perspective you have on the world. So it is also dark in the sense that it is kind of a story of colonization that is quite brutal. You have this more civilized, advanced kingdom that have had to relocate after a big war, and they basically colonize a region where there are already different kinds of people living, and they don't have their silk gloves on, put it mildly. They more or less take what they want. And it is also, so the colonist theme is quite dark, as it tend to be. And then there is also when people ask me what is Symbaroum, I often refer to a quote. I think it was a German reviewer who said that Symbaroum is like Princess Mononoke meets Game of Thrones. And what I believe that he meant is what I just said about perspectives, and there's no true good or evil in the setting. That's like the Game of Thrones part of the analogy. Mononoke, do you know that show, movie? It's about basically what would happen if nature had a capacity to react to being cultivated and exploited and twisted by the will of humans. So there's kind of an bit pretentious, but an environmental crisis factor built into the setting, in the form that if you piss nature off, it will come after you.
Well,
It
based
will
on the
grow
artwork,
dark and vengeful, and
well, based on the artwork, I can believe every word of that. Jacob, I want to go to you because you were brought in for the 5e conversion, correct?
Right.
And so you, if I remember correctly, Mattias said that you're kind of the 5e expert here. Let's get a little bit of your history in role playing and what it is about this project that attracted you to it.
Well, I spent a long, long amount of time just kind of doing my own thing in my own corner, making games just for me and my friends. But a few years ago, I got heavily involved with The One Ring when it first came out, and I just was absolutely blown away by it. And huge fan. Decided I was going to do everything I could do to help out because I just thought it was just such an awesome game. And I did that for a long time. Ended up going, the previous publisher, going to Gen Con, helping them out at the booth, running demo games and whatnot. Got to a point where I was actually involved with proofreading and then occasional writing and editing for the project. And then with Adventures in Middle Earth, the 5e adaptation came out there. Of course, there were a lot of people who were very familiar with Middle Earth, but not a whole lot of people who were deeply familiar with 5e. And I was able to kind of join that project, not really for the player's handbook quite so much, but for the Lore Master's Guide and all of the work afterwards. So I ended up basically kind of being the converter translator of everything from the One Ring system to the Adventures in Middle Earth, the 5e system. So that had worked out really well. And then, of course, One Ring had moved publishers to Free League. And so we were meeting everybody on that side. And I know there was some conversations between Francesco, the lead designer of the One Ring, and Mattias about Symbaroum and the 5e project. And they recommended me. I had been aware of Symbaroum, but not deeply into it. But then when I saw what Mattias was doing, I was just blown away. Very, very excited. And we said, okay, well, let's go ahead and do a little teaser, which is the Promised Land, the free little handout on drive-through. And I think Mattias was happy with what I did, and we decided, okay, well, let's go ahead and go for a complete project. Took a look at basically core rulebook, the advanced player's guide, the monster codex, and everything. Said, okay, well, we'll go ahead and translate all of this into 5e. So far, seems to be going pretty well.
I'm going to turn this over to my co-host because otherwise I will dominate the conversation, and they'll let me. So, so I'm going to throw it over to you guys because I know you both have some questions. Zach, we're going to start with you.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I got a few, but Mattias was able to answer at least my first two. So I'm just gonna jump in maybe to my big one. When you decided to put out a 5e product, why Symbaroum? Why? Like, I think it'd be hard, but I think you could do Mutant Year Zero. I think Forbidden Lands would have been an easy one as well. Why Symbaroum? Is it just because you loved this one the most? Was there some company politics that got into it, or was this just the easiest one?
No, I think it's as I told you in 2018, the two teams of Free League and my side of the team that is called Järnringen merged into one company. We have known each other since long before then, but from 2018 and onwards, we have been one company. And actually, the idea of converting Symbaroum to the 5e system, or D20 as it was called back then, was I don't know. It's been with us ever since we started the Symbaroum project in Swedish and then translated it to English. Because I think to us in that team, the setting, even I mean the rule set, we are super happy with the original rule set of Symbaroum. It's if the setting is the setting we want to play in, the system is very much the system we prefer to play. So can't say anything about that, but building a new, to us the setting has always been most important, and we want as many people as possible to be granted an opportunity to play in that setting and to experience that setting. So the fact that we were going to translate Symbaroum or convert it to the 5e rule set, that's not a new thing or a new idea. It was long before we became the new Free League, merged Free League. So, but you can still raise the question, why not more conversions? Or why did we start with Symbaroum? And when it comes to the two Mutant Year Zero, we have quite a lot of material already. That's true. But not comparatively. Symbaroum is already a much more developed setting than especially Forbidden Lands, which has not been out for very long, and we have only released like 2 campaign books for it. Plus, it is also a setting that is it is also kind of gritty, but more like OSR in style. Maybe in some senses, pretty close to that heroic kind of fantasy. I mean, you don't play heroes in Forbidden Lands.
No.
You play raiders. You play kind of harsh, but it's still a little bit of hex crawling and dungeoneering and whatnot. Symbaroum is very much defined by its main big story arc, and that story arc, with Jacob's help, can be told using the 5e system just as well as the Symbaroum original system, I think. So again, a very long answer to a short question. Sorry for that.
That's perfect.
Nope. We like long
I'm
answers.
musing. I'm musing.
Yeah, given that there's such a developed setting for Symbaroum, everything seems very well thought out, which I absolutely love because at least you get to read about something even if you never get to play it,
Hmm.
which I think is a common problem. Do you have any plans for like large scale advancing the plot type events or story adventures? Like going to be some
Or
kind of elf invasion plotline for players to play through, and then after that you
mm,
have to release a new setting because everything's different, or are you just gonna like let it go, leave it out there for players to experience?
uh, our next big project for the Ruins of Symbaroum game line is a conversion of the, let me call it, massive adventure chronicle or campaign, which is called the Throne of Thorns, and it is a 6-part chronicle, 200 pages something. This is the part 4 in Swedish, no less. And 5 episodes in this series is already out for the original system, and I'm currently writing the 6th and final part for it. So next up for the Ruins of Symbaroum, because before deciding that we was going to do it is quite an undertaking. We wanted to see that, the base core setting books that we kickstarted, that they would be well received, and of course that the Kickstarter would do well, and it surely did. And also it's very much a question of, it's a team effort, and it takes we I mean, if Jacob, after working on these setting books, said that, like, oh, now I want to do, I don't know, the One Ring and other stuff, then it would mean serious, a step back for us. So it takes that all of us are committed to and engaged enough to make that happen. But for me, as the setting designer and the main writer of this chronicle, Symbaroum is very much this campaign. The game has been, when it comes to the setting and when it comes to the rule set, the game as a whole has been designed very much to tell this epic story. And I think that with Jacob's conversion of the 5e rules, or should I say the new rules that I assume you will want to talk a little bit about with Jacob, they will be a perfect foundation for telling this story once again, but to a new audience.
Nolan, let's throw it to you.
Yeah, I think most of my questions kind of stem back to that conversion process for Jacob.
Mm.
Looking at the classes and subclasses and everything like that, did you find an easy conversion, or was it hard to find stuff within the rule set to make some of those things? I feel like there's some original ideas that come across really well by just giving some things to ability. The staff mage stood out to me as far as just that's a really neat idea. I hadn't seen that yet, or wanted to play it and didn't know how to get there. Does it transfer easy, or is there some stuff where you're like, this is going to be tricky?
Oh, and there's definitely some tricky stuff. We've had the alpha out for a few weeks, and we're getting a lot of feedback from dedicated players. Um, we're appreciating that. I mean, one of the things that I looked at, of course, with the original Symbaroum, it's a class system. Take, a archetype, and then you take, particular powers. And so what we wanted to do was kind of come up with a system where the subclasses, the approaches as we call them, were like basically as if you had been playing in the original system and you had been trying, for a particular kind of character, what powers would you have selected? What, you know, so we wanted to make sure that the approach was uh, something that you could kind of recognize of like, yes, I could have made this sort of person in the original system, so you don't feel like you're being super locked in to the class structure. Okay, yes, I would have made this character, and this is the sort of things I would have taken, and now I've got them because it's part of the approach. So, tried very much for that, so that going from a class structure to a class structure, there's always going to be some. Well, do I really want this or whatnot? Hopefully, giving you enough ability, enough different approaches, so that people can play the sort of characters.
I definitely
Yeah,
agree with that. That's the feeling I got from looking through it. Usually, I'm notorious from playing 3.5 and multi-classing, and just seeing that you get something cool every level, and it really, I can make what I need to without poaching or stealing or whatever. It's very well done.
You played a lot of fifth edition before
yeah,
this process, or was it?
yeah. I mean, I'm a regular 5e player and DM, so, and of course, like I said, previous experience with Adventures in the Earth also helped. That was another one where you take a very thematic setting, very, very hard to introduce the themes into the mechanics using the 5e. And 5e is very modular, surprisingly modular. I think a lot of folks are, look at it initially and say, oh, no, this is one thing. You can only do one thing with it. Whereas in reality, you can make adjustments, like what we've done with the rest and with the hit dice. We were able to say, okay, let's do this, and let's do it in a little bit of an unexpected way, so that we can have stronger basis for the darkness that is inherent to Symbaroum, and the danger that you should face when you go into the forest of Davokar or other dangerous areas.
How difficult is it when converting something from the previous rule set to the new rules? How difficult is it to keep the feeling up?
It can be a challenge for sure. Um, uh, Fortunately, I think that we had in our first draft versions had pretty quick win with corruption system, just the general feel. Like again, I think the corruption system and probably the rest mechanics, I think were probably our two biggest wins for keeping it at the right feel. And as long as we could kind of tie into that and say, okay, it's really important. Like hit dice, extremely important, because not only are they new hit points for you if you get a chance to use them that way, they're also your way of reducing corruption. So playing around with hit dice, using them or giving them back to you became a very important mechanism to work with that was a little bit new. And then the same thing with basically the rest. If wanted to restrict things, we always had that opportunity of the extended rest. You don't have it. You definitely want to make it feel very dangerous when you're on the move venturing.
Which is actually something that we pointed out just in our first look over. The way the rest was set up, all three of us were like, "Oh, well, that makes." And I think we both all felt that it made a lot more sense. Why would you get full resting ability after a long rest when you're out in the wild trying to protect yourself from stuff? It made sense that you had to go somewhere that was perfectly safe. I think that was one of the things that immediately stood out to the three of us who are avid 5e players.
Well,
Uh,
it feels right too if you've ever spent a week in a mountain.
yeah.
And by day 3, you're just like there's no amount of rest. You have to find a bed.
I would like to say as well that the converting Symbaroum to the 5e mechanic is not only about, it's a merger, right? So, and me and my colleague is also named Mattias, inconveniently enough. But I think, Jacob, we have been very clear towards you that we don't expect Ruins of Symbaroum to be exactly like Symbaroum. It should be a merger. One of the reasons we are doing this is because there are super many people out there who love 5e and who, I mean, we have had, I don't know how many game masters contact us and say that I would love to play this game, but my players only want to play 5e. So one of the and so the rule set of Ruins of Symbaroum 5e should feel like 5e, which means that we can't go all in Symbaroum, right? Sure, absolutely. Some of the people who love the original game will look at this and say, this is not Symbaroum. Because I mean, even if we have made it a little bit deadlier, a little bit darker, it is still far from what the original system is, which is a game where, you know, you want to try to avoid combat in the original system because it's so deadly. And it is so deadly because we want you to not, unsheath your sword at every twist and turn. And as soon as you face some kind of obstacle, hopefully with this system, rest system that we have now in Ruins of Symbaroum, adventurers will think not only twice, but 3 times before, taking that fight, because they know that it will take a lot of time before I get out of this forest to safe grounds and can regain my hit dice or my hit points or whatever. So hopefully but it's yeah. So it should feel like a merger. 5e players should feel like this is a 5e game.
Whenever 5e, made sense for the world, we kept it. And again, we kind of twisted things a little bit towards, the 5e side of things, sometimes, especially with some of the spells and whatnot. If there was a 5e spell that fit the general parameters of what the character could do in the original Symbaroum, we kept it, which again kind of skews a little bit more towards the 5e side of things, and maybe a little bit more powerful sometimes. But also, when we looked at the monsters, each I think everybody who plays 5e knows that the challenge rating system is a little wonky. So we did use it. And we did skew very close to the top. For example, if there's a range for each challenge rating, right? So many hit points, so many points of damage or whatnot. Every one of the Symbaroum monsters are tweaked to the very top of that range for whatever that challenge rating is, so that they are as dangerous as they can be for the rating. And we don't necessarily expect, especially during the course of the adventures, you're going to find yourself in plenty of situations where you are not in a fair fight. That's perfectly fine. Again, you may have to be very, very cautious during the course of the game. But
yeah,
again,
you can always tuck tail and run, right?
Yes.
And that is something that is real in Symbaroum. Yeah, we have.
Yeah. There's some good chase rules if they decide to follow. But again, if you want to take the what we're providing to you and do a more standard traditional 5e approach, where you go ahead and use the challenge rating, calculate out an encounter, you can do that too, and it's still going to be a big challenge.
I definitely find that with most D&D games, it's like, well, you wouldn't put it there unless you wanted me to kill it. So we're going to find a way to win. And so it's nice to hear it's okay to survive. Like, you're not supposed to, and it's okay to be a normal person. Like, yeah, that's a big dude. We probably shouldn't mess with that. So
I think some of my favorite moments have been when we were just like, now, time to go.
Yep.
Pick up the body and run.
Player mechanics wise, just reading through, it seems like you've kind of upped the power level, for lack of a better term, for a lot of the player classes. Like, I think if you just compare like a 5e thief and just the buffs you've given to the scoundrel, like the scoundrel seems much more powerful. Was that intentional, or over the course of the alpha, are you plan to pare things back? Or are the monsters just so dangerous that like you got to use every trick?
There's going to be some adjustments based on feedback, of course. But the biggest thing, of course, is we wanted to make sure that everybody had something interesting to do at every level. And we knew that we are putting people into very challenging situations. So you don't want to have somebody who is just absolutely overwhelmed. So you're still going to be managing resources. For example, you are powerful, you are capable, but eventually those hit points and those hit dice run out. They run out very quickly. So I think that it all balanced out pretty well. Playtesting so far has shown that.
How much playtesting goes into?
We were playtesting. I would say basically weekly for a number of months. I can't even remember how much. We've throughout the development process, we were playtesting weekly for. Do you remember when we actually officially started the work? I don't remember. It's been
No,
so much. Yeah, it's been
I don't.
again 6, 7, 8, 9 months. I don't remember
Yeah,
exactly when we officially
something
started,
like that.
but yeah.
When you start to play test something, obviously you don't just well, I would assume, and we're talking completely on the business side of things because that's what triggers my brain and fascinates me. Um, when you move to play test something, do you reach out to play testers that you know of, or is it just strictly people within the company? And if you do reach out to players that you know of that might be interested, uh, do they have to sign a non-disclosure agreement? What are some of the, and I know this has nothing to do with the game, but it's just what I'm absolutely fascinated by. What are some of the things that you would make a playtester do before they're allowed to actually be a part of the playtesting?
I have my own internal set of playtesters that do have NDAs and everything that I work with quite regularly, but we also did sit out in external groups. I'll let Mattias talk a little bit about that.
Mm.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure how big
yeah. Already when we released the freebie, the Promised Land that you can find on Drive to RPG, people started contacting us and was very much in love with the work we've done so far. And a couple of those groups, or I should more or less clubs, role-playing game clubs. Um, I developed sort of an email relationship with, and so when it was time for us to do, we actually, before releasing this alpha, we had a pre-alpha that we had a couple of external groups, one in the UK and one in Italy, read through and play through over the course of a couple of months. And their feedback led to some adjustments and changes and a little bit of polish before we were ready to circulate the alpha. As for your questions on NDAs, it's pretty individual depending on the project, and Symbaroum is our own brand. We own it, so we can do a little bit like we like ourselves with that one. But if we are playtesting like a licensed game, we have to be more formal when it comes to NDAs and such. But I mean, most playtesters, they obviously know that they love to be part of the project and they want to keep being a part of the project. So if they, I know, if we tell them that please keep quiet and please keep this to yourselves, they always do. So it's not that big of a deal. And honestly, it's not, because we like to be open about playtesting. For instance, when we do like Kickstarter campaigns or pre-orders and whatnot, we always at least try to get an alpha or a beta out to the backers as soon as possible, because that in the end that makes the product so much better. And if they talk about it to their friends, and it's not a big deal, it doesn't hurt us. in any way, because we want them to feel like they are part of the process, and that they also are free to like talk to their friends and colleagues and whatnot, gaming buddies, about what they have read and their latest play test. And in the end, that also helps make the product better, because they can give us better feedback, more thought through and discussed. Oh, yeah.
Nolan, looked like you had a question before I jumped in there.
Disgusting feedback.
I know you said you're working kind of on this mega adventure and stuff. When designing this, is there a level that you see the heroes of the world? I know for 5e it seems like everything stops at 12, because after that point the power level is just insane. Is there a high level adventure? Do people live that long in this world, or do you usually like you eventually get eaten, or the shadow corrupts you, and now you're the 8th level bad guy we got to deal with?
I think for Throne of Thorns, we're going to see people get to fairly high levels. They'll definitely be something higher than 12th level. The big, huge campaign.
And I think we will see that kind of adversaries already in the bestiary, right?
There's some pretty high level stuff in there.
I know we get to see that stuff, and it is always the biggest downfall of I'm finally getting the good stuff, and now I'm level 1 again because we told the story, and I'm forever level 1. So we could just stop right now. I'm happy. I'll see you guys later.
He just made his day.
So, I have a quick and kind of a weird question. Because I've only gotten to read the bestiary for the original Symbaroum. Like, how strong is like a lindworm? Like a big one, or like a troll that's kind of made it?
Take it
Like,
away,
how
Jacob.
dangerous is that?
Let's see.
This is just for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a little while since we're actually in review and typesetting of the bestiary right now. It's actually been a little while since I looked at the actual numbers, but trolls do have a variance anywhere from lower CRs up to middle CR, and then the Lindworm and all the way up to the dragons. Those are pretty high CRs. High teens to 20s, depending on which version you use.
Okay. Very excited. Yeah, that's just for me. I'm just very excited to read the bestiary.
It's interesting, and one of the things that we found, I'm really, really interested in the various corrupted creatures, because they do corruption as damage. So that's pretty exciting.
Oh. Okay.
Mattias, I want to ask, because obviously you are deeply experienced with Symbaroum. What is your favorite character class? Like when you get to play, what is something you're like, I'm playing this?
I always go for the ranger for some reason.
Well, you're just making Nolan's day right now.
Yeah. Okay. No. In the Ruins of Symbaroum system, I think because there is no real ranger class, right? It's the fighter class, maybe. What would I play in Ruins of Symbaroum, Jacob?
Well,
We have the iron. We have the
there's
iron.
a warrior class, yeah, and then we have the like the captain class. I think the captain's one of the most interesting.
But we have the Iron Sworn approach, right?
Right. Yeah, under the hunter.
Yeah. That would probably be, yeah. That's a hunter's class. Yeah. Right.
Yep.
How about you, Jacob? What when you decide when you're gonna play Symbaroum, or have you just DM'd it?
I am a forever DM.
Okay. So if you got the chance to
play,
if you got the chance to play, what class would you play?
Ooh, that would be fun. I really, really like the captain, because the captain can influence everybody else and mess around with initiative, which I think is really awesome. So that's a definitive possibility. The other thing is that I do, when I have very chances I get to play, I do also go for ranger types, so an explorer type. would probably be one, the scoundrel explorer, maybe a hunter.
Talk about your favorite monsters. And Jacob, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Mattias. What's your favorite monster in the game, or what monster terrifies you?
All of them. um, I had one of my playtesters. He just said, "This thing is not. You won't fight this thing. This thing is going to kill you." Um, you know, I like the necromage. Like um, dragons and the lindworms and whatnot. And um, King Toad is just fun. Like that. I like the King Toad as well.
Okay, Mattias, how about you?
Humans.
Ooh, that cut. Wow.
I'm not even kidding. So
True, you are the bad guy.
Yep.
Wow, that
no, that's the Symbaroum answer. That's the correct Symbaroum answer. I will say as the designer of the setting. If I'm not allowed to select humans as the what terrifies me most, I would probably go for the primal blight beasts, the hulking abominations that are roaming the depths of the Davokar forest. And if you meet one of those, you might remember that we talked a little about of turning away and just running. That's a super good advice if you meet one of those.
you've made a couple of comments now, Mattias, that really kind of hits home here. That's that, our world is much darker than humans are the monsters that terrify you the most. And I just think it's fascinating that you've said that, because I can't think of well, I shouldn't say I can't think of, but I definitely know, especially in recent times, my wife and I, and even my friends, Nolan and Zach, have had these conversations where we said that it's just we are never cease to be amazed by the depth of evil that exists with humanity.
And
So,
goodness.
oh, absolutely, and
Yeah.
that's something we, the three of us, especially fight for. We talk about being a good person, being a decent person, treating people with respect, things like that all the time. It just really struck me as almost existential that you said those things, and it just, I don't know, it adds more depth and richness to this game, in my opinion.
One of the main things for people that sort of discover Symbaroum is the role that the elves play in the game, which is related to what we just talked about, because the elves are they occupy sort of the role that an orc would occupy in your standard fantasy setting, like the default enemy. Because why? Yeah, because you most often, at least, play humans. You can, in original Symbaroum, you have human Ambrian. You can play the human of the clan folks, the barbarian tribes, as the Ambrians call them, or you can play a goblin, a changeling, or an ogre. And all these are sort of, they come from the lowlands south of the forest. When they enter the forest, what they encounter are elves telling them to turn around, walk right out of here, because we have an ancient treaty that basically gives us the right to use violence to force you to leave. So, and this is the Iron Pact, the age-old alliance of elves that are. I mean, they would say that they are the protectors of Davokar, this massive forest with all its secrets and ruins and ancient knowledge and artifacts and whatnot that the humans want to harvest. The humans, of course, watch them as a pain. And when the elves say that, if you stomp around here, the ancient evil of old Symbaroum, the empire that was once here, it will come to life again. So don't stomp around out here. The humans is just, they want to keep that stuff for themselves. So, but let's meet them with more armor and bigger swords next time, and we will have a different kind of argument. So, yeah, so that's humans for you in this setting. That and I had many groups of players also saying that, when you accomplish something in Symbaroum, when you finish an adventure and you succeed with your goal, first you are super happy and you high five each other. But then most often you start thinking, okay, so we did this. Does that mean that we are the good guys, or so you never get to be that superhero that is always in the right. There's always this, ambiguity about, yeah, what is an accomplishment and what is it worth and for whom. And yeah, as soon as you make a friend, you will probably also simultaneously make an enemy, because everything is interconnected and everything stands for something.
It definitely has that feel, and when you said Princess Mononoke, I mean, it just really does hammer
Yeah.
home their perspective and being in the early cycles of the old ways versus the new ways,
Mm.
depending on what side you're on is right or wrong. It it adds so much more to at some point you're just like, we're all just trying to survive and we're all just trying to do it our own way. And I I think that's what really is standing out to me as far as this goes. Like the art kind of paints this picture of it. There is no beacon of good because, like you said, you've good job, you did this, but now there's 13 different ramifications of what you just did that you can't
Mm.
see because you're so narrow minded. So it's it's been a lot of fun to read through for sure.
Yeah, it seems that people have quite a lot of fun playing it as well. Symbaroum is one of those games that we released it in English in 2016, and it's been, people are still discovering it, and it seems like it's going faster. It's like a snowball growing. So it's been and I mean, thanks to Jacob, we now have a chance to present this setting and its stories and its questions, and it's hopefully tons of fun to a whole new set of gamers that are, I mean, I know myself, the system is, it is hard work learning a new system. So this way we can cater to fans of two different systems with the same stories and the same setting.
It definitely makes it easier because we also play in Scarred Lands Path, which they
Mm.
converted to 5e. And it does make it easier for people to enjoy a new setting when there's this unified, almost unified system of rules. And I love the fact that WotC has allowed people this open gaming license to create these, and especially things like the popularity of 5e through like Critical Role and other actual plays has just pushed 5e beyond anything I think WotC ever thought it would. And seeing these games come out, we love. I mean, we enjoy Forgotten Realms. We love some of the realms that Wizards of the Coast put out, but we're always looking for something different. One of the things that we loved about Scarred Lands is it felt like the land itself was trying to kill you. Like you had to be careful wherever you went.
Yes.
And it feels like Symbaroum has given us this other area to explore that tickles that that interest that we have that's not so, I hate to use the term, but kid friendly that Forgotten Realms seems to be. I mean, yes, there's danger in Forgotten Realms, but Forgotten Realms doesn't seem to have the uh, danger level of things like Scarred Lands or even the Symbaroum. So I think it's fascinating for those of us who want to try something different, a little bit more dangerous, so to speak, to have these settings out there. And I'm incredibly grateful that you guys decided to convert this to 5. That's not a question. Apparently, it's just a statement of fact.
I,
Well, go
me
ahead, Zach.
personally, it's a little bittersweet that Symbaroum 5e is coming out because when I read the original Symbaroum, I was like, I'm gonna make my friends play this. Like, I
Yeah,
loved it.
but have you
You
tried?
can.
I haven't tried yet because we have like 3 other games that we have to play. But I was like, when it's my turn, I'm
Yeah.
gonna make everyone play this game. And now 5e's coming out, and I know I'll be able to get more people to play the Ruins of Symbaroum.
From experience, I'll tell you that. So what may happen is you may say, "Oh, let's play this, and we'll do it in 5e," and everybody will be like, "Wow!" And there's an original system that fits this even just a little bit better. Well, you guys want to try that?
What I'm gonna
that
do.
that happens. Promise
So
you.
we have a
Mm.
Monday night game that we do over Discord. It's only a 2-hour game because it's a Monday night and everybody has to work the next day. And I'm the DM for that game. And if Zach and Nolan are okay with this, I'm just going to declare right now that our next setting, because we just finished our other one, is going to be in.
Be good.
Go by that, man.
Awesome.
There you go. So we are going to start the Ruins of Symbaroum for our next Monday night game.
My only, like, as I know we're kind of running out of time here, the only thing that I want, as a totally selfish thing here is if you guys ever find the time in your infinite busyness, you guys do an art book, I will be right there for the first one. The illustrations are just so good, and it sets such a tone and feeling and
Always grabbing
inspiration.
something.
He's grabbing something.
Always grabbing
Oh,
something.
good. Is there one?
We
Oh, my.
actually did this. Do you hear me?
I could hear you. Yep.
Yeah,
We can
yeah.
hear you. Yep.
I didn't know if I was muted. This is the Symbaroum art book that is in a very handy format, and it was made like in I don't know if you see anything, 2017 maybe. So just a couple of years into the product line. So, but this one is almost sold out. I think you can find it through Amazon and such still in the States. But we will definitely look into it. It's just a question of convincing Martin that it's a good idea.
But we all agree that an art book for the games of Free League in general would just be incredible because
It's been really good.
everything that we've looked at that you guys are producing just blows us away.
Yeah, we are lucky that way that we have, Martin is an in-house. He's one of the co-owners as well. So, and we have another co-owner is Simon Stålenhag, Tales from the Loop and whatnot. And then we have very good friends like Johan Egerkrans, who did the Vasen art book first, and then we got to use his art when we made the role-playing game. So yeah, the art is a super important factor when it comes to immersion, I would say. That you present the words in text, the world in text, but at the end, often and they are so good, these guys, that often if I write something and then I send it off to them to illustrate it, and something comes back to me and it's not at all what I wanted, I rewrite the text because their vision of is so much cooler.
Wow.
So that has happened more than once, I can tell you.
Well, we are getting close to our time limit, and I don't want to keep you guys any longer than necessary. But I do want to say I know the Ruins of Symbaroum is currently available for late backers. So
Yeah.
Mattias, if you could tell us how people can access that, and what is the timeline moving forward? Of course, there's all sorts of delays when it comes to printing and shipping and things like that. But what is Free League's projected timeline moving forward with the fulfillment?
The late pledge option will not be open for very much longer. So I'm guessing that we can post a link to the Kickstarter
Absolutely,
page.
it'll be in the show
And
notes.
from the Kickstarter page, you will find the bottom that says click here for late pledges or whatnot. So, and that will take you to our pledge manager where you can make a late pledge. And you can also read all about the stuff and that we've got cooking. Timeline wise, we in the Kickstarter we projected to have fulfillment in February 2022. And currently it looks like we may be able to keep that promise. But again, these days, especially shipping and logistics in general, I mean, I know for a fact that it's some people have wanted to print a book, and the printer says that they can't get paper
Yeah.
because it's on a boat somewhere that is stuck somewhere and whatnot. So
We'll all
yeah,
be very
fingers
understanding.
crossed. Fingers crossed that we will make it. It looks really good at the moment, and the feedback we get is not a reason to change that estimate, because even if we get a lot of very helpful hints when it comes to typos and that sort of small errors, I don't know what you say, Jacob, but it isn't like we have to start over from square
No.
one.
Not at all.
No. So
Can
we
you,
feel super good about the process right now.
can you tell us what you're currently working on, or is that top secret information right now?
No, I actually spoiled that a little
Oh,
while
you
ago.
did, yeah.
I'm working on the final part of the Throne of Thorns campaign for the original game that we will hopefully be able to convert over the course of the coming 2 years.
How about
Very
you, Jakey?
excited.
Anything that you're working on that you want to tell us about?
I've got in my queue the adventures that we're going to do that we unlocked as part of the Ruins of Symbaroum Kickstarter campaign. So that's in progress. And then there's another project for Free League that is also 5e, involving another deep setting to Earth. That is well in progress as well.
Yeah, we got to see, as a backer, we got to see the video of the book that was already printed in. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's absolutely clearly, from what we can see, it looks like it's up to Free League standards. So, which we're excited
Yeah,
about.
I was down in Stockholm. I actually live in the north of Sweden, so I don't live near the headquarters. But I was visiting last week and got a chance to hold it and flip through it, and it is yeah.
We're excited.
I hope you will like it as much as I did.
Oh, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. Well, Nolan, Zach, do you have any more questions before we turn these gentlemen loose?
I mean, I have so many, but they're all just.
We can come
They
back.
can wait. They can wait.
I
Yeah,
I was gonna say I
I'd
think
just like to.
it's great.
I'd like to thank you for coming on and talking
Yeah.
to us. Very very excited for Symbaroum. I think this is the first time I've like read a campaign setting where I've talked about this before. I think there's like worlds of adventure and there's worlds for storytelling. And I think Symbaroum's the first one I've read where I was like, I could tell a story in this, but people can go out and adventure. I'm very excited. And yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I want to echo that
Thank
as
you
well.
for saying so.
Your guys' time is, I know, very busy, and it means a lot for you guys to sit down and talk with us. We are looking forward to it, and your guys' passion comes through, the excitement. It's and yeah, it's just been great. Thank you so much.
Well,
Thank you for having us. It was super nice.
The game is the Ruins of Symbaroum, currently available for late pledges for a very short time on Kickstarter. A link will be in the show notes. The publisher is Free League. Congratulations, by the way, to Free League for all the Any awards that they won at Gen Con this year, because there was some well-deserved awards, that's for sure. And we are super excited about the projects you guys are working on, and especially Ruins of Symbaroum. Mattias, Jacob, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That is our show for this week, everybody. Join us next week, as we have no idea what we're going to be talking about, but we'll surely get it figured out. There have been some PDFs that we got in advance. I know that they came from Beyond the Grave from Onyx Path, just hit my inbox earlier this week, so that might be something we check out for next week. Until then, see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.